people literally like made businesses out of that. It'd be like, hey, I'm gonna sell you my time, and if you have to work and you can't wait for the iPhone, I'll do it for you. Hi, my name is Fiona Gomo, aka Techie Supreme, your supreme source on all things tech. And today we are diving back into my special technology and astrology series where we are going to highlight a product in accordance with its astrological sign. So before we start, I just want to say my sincerest apologies to all of the Capricorns out there because this video is extremely late. I was trying to upload it on the 19th while it was still Capricorn season, but I had a very unfortunate mishap with my SD card and I lost my original video. So we are recording now and this is coming out a bit late, but I hope you guys will still enjoy it. But moving forward, I'm still super excited to bring this video to you guys because I think you're gonna find it pretty interesting. The product that we are going to be highlighting in this video for Capricorn season is the iPhone. In particular, I'm going to be talking about the original first generation iPhone that was announced to the world on January 9th, which makes it a Capricorn. And I thought that was super interesting because when I really started to think about it, I really saw those attributes kind of just jump right out, not only about the first iPhone, but just the series in general and what we think about it and how it's changed the world. And another thing that I want to talk about in this video is a very interesting dynamic within this astrology space. I do kind of try to dip a little bit of more advanced stuff in my videos, and this is kind of one of them. So I wanted to talk about the fact that we have this January 9th announcement date, which I would personally akin to like a birthday, if you will. But the device was actually released to market on June 29th, which is approximately 6 months later, which is in Cancer season. And an interesting interaction between Capricorn and Cancer is that they're sister signs. So they're literally kind of different ends of the same spectrum. They kind of have a lot of similarities, even though they're complete opposites. And I found that, again, just studying and thinking about this topic, I found that there's the way that iPhones work and the way that we feel about them is very indicative in this astrological makeup. So we're gonna dive in now. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was just, the overall archetype of Capricorn is considered very hardworking. They like order, they like, steadiness, they like control. And like I said, when I think about the way that we think about the iPhone, iOS, and things like that, there is just that idea of it just works. You don't really have to worry about it, and that was the whole idea of the iPhone. And that is Apple's bread and butter about all of their devices and software and everything just works. And I think we really got that idea first with the iPhone, more so than any other product that was released by Apple. We have complete continuity between iPhones. If you are buying a new iPhone, you can transfer your content from the old one to the new one seamlessly. They can communicate between Apple devices very seamlessly. And there is this idea, Capricorn, a lot of the times they really like to be polished on the outside, but a lot of people don't know about the hard work that goes on in the background. And I feel like that's such an Apple kind of mindset in overall, but especially with the iPhone. there is that idea of, you know, the iPhone does all this work so that you don't have to. It just works so you don't have to figure out this, that, and the other. And, you know, for me, I'm an Android fan myself. You know, I kind of like, you know, when you think about even like old school Android, I kind of like the tinkering and things like that and figuring things out myself. But and you definitely don't get that with an iPhone. When I've owned and used iPhones, it's funny because I was already so ingrained in the Android ecosystem that I look at an iPhone, I'm like, how do you use this thing? I'm just like, I kind of don't get over myself. I'm not, you know, I'm not even saying that as like a negative, but I'm just so used to what I'm used to that you know, not really necessarily a daily driver for me, but like I said, I still appreciate the idea of the iPhone, and I appreciate, again, even from this perspective of study, it's so fascinating to think about the overall of how this product has influenced the world, and if you can really kind of get some kind of explanation, you know, like when I talk about these things, I honestly kind of akin them to when I was a kid and I used to watch, like, you know, science documentaries all night, and you just get all of these explanations, and I kind of get a very similar feeling when I do these videos, where if I can give some kind of explanation to why we are so attracted to the things we're attracted to in terms of, you know, products or the people that represent them, that's kind of what these videos are about. So like I said, other archetypes that you're going to find with Capricorn are, that you're also going to find with the iPhone, is this idea of, you know, exclusivity and money and status. And I think it's very interesting that the iPhone is pretty much one of the only smartphones that really retains its dollar value for an extended amount of time. So you can honestly, you know, sell like a $1,000 iPhone a year later and like get like $700 or more, where, you know, other devices, they kind of slash in half, where you can get a significant amount of money back from the value of an iPhone. And I think that is, you know, that is something that's super fascinating when you think about, when you juxtapose it to the sign of Capricorn. Like I said, other things that I wanted to point out was even just the idea of how people have, honestly, whether it's, you know, kind of like actual Fortune 500, even down to just like the average person, people have made businesses around the iPhone. Obviously, you know, Apple collaborates with so many people. Even the whole idea of the tech industry in general, at least the tech industry as we know it. Obviously, tech media has been around forever, but I feel like it really started to kind of mature and blossom around the time of the iPhone. A lot of us have jobs because of the iPhone. A lot of us reporters have jobs because of the iPhone. I think about things like 3, 4, or 5 years ago, where it was when we really kind of had that frenzy of the iPhone, and how people would stand in place for people who weren't able to be there and purchase iPhones for people. And people have made businesses out, people literally like made businesses out of that. It'd be like, hey, I'm gonna sell you my time, and if you have to work and you can't wait for the iPhone, I'll do it for you. You know, obviously, you know, iPhone developers is another big, really interesting industry that has developed. Obviously, we've already had developers in general, but iPhone developers are super specific. And I even just think about the idea of how, you know, people who are smartphone developers, a lot of them have this, you know, core focus on iOS, and it's taken a long time to kind of get into Android. All of the updates and the apps come out on iOS first and things like that. Like I said, exclusivity, you know, back in the day, that was a whole thing where the iOS app would come out and you'd have to wait 6 months to a year for the Android app to come out and things like that. So, and even the idea of how the first iPhone was was available only on AT&T for a very long time, and it took several years to kind of expand out to the different carriers. And like the iPhone, like even like T-Mobile's had the iPhone proper for like what, like 3 years. It's not been that long at all where you kind of have full carrier, partnership. And that's how exclusive the iPhone was, like I said, starting with the first one and going on. Again, another thing that I wanted to talk about was how the software works. There is such a focus on security and privacy and keeping things closed source. Again, kind of like in comparison to Android, where people can kind of get the core code and develop at their will. You can't do that as much with iOS, and everything is very closed source. Again, I would even compare that to Capricorn energy. Again, more exclusivity, more you kind of have to work hard on the back end in order to make it easy and seamless on the front end. Like you have to do something different with the iOS software than you do with the Android software in order to get apps or services and things like that working and updated and everything. So that is kind of just like the core idea of Capricorn and of the iPhone. The original iPhone is Capricorn. So like I said, I did want to delve into this comparison of the Capricorn announcement versus the Cancer launch. So one thing that I wanted to point out was that all of the astrological signs, they all have a mantra. And the mantra for Capricorn is I use. So like I said, kind of very indicative of iPhone. iPhone is something that we use. It's something that we use to make our lives easier, and that is the general idea of this product. It's supposed to work for us. And then the mantra of Cancer is I feel. And what I wanted to note was, again, as much as the iPhone as a whole, as a whole idea is, again, it's supposed to work for us, it has also brought such an emotional response back that like I said, people are super emotionally tied to their iPhones. They're proud to be iPhone users. It's been a joke since time immemorial about how Android devices work versus iOS and iPhone, and people still make those jokes to this day, even though there's been a lot of catch up in terms of Apple's competition. And like I said, it takes a lot of emotion for people, back in the day to stand up in line and, camping out at midnight the day before to go and buy an iPhone. Like, come on. I even think about the recent iPhone 11 launch. I was at the Apple Store, Fifth Avenue, and there were people lined up there, and not in the droves that we've seen in the past, but people still line up to wait to go and buy the iPhone. And we don't really focus on that anymore, but like I said, there is this sense of pride that people get. I was noting, I don't know if this is a proper comparison, but some things like that are kind of, I feel like you can kind of akin it to like how people feel when they're buying a car or buying a house. As silly as that sounds, that is kind of how people feel like, oh, I've got the new iPhone and I spent this much, and I got this case and I got this, that, and the other. It, like I said, it's I feel like it is kind of a simple pleasure, but that is kind of the pleasure of our time. And it's definitely not something that I knock. It is honestly just something that I notice. And like I said, to kind of compare this to this kind of season and this kind of energy. So like I said, that is kind of the overall of what I wanted to share for this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I honestly had a lot of fun pondering this video in particular, and like I said, this series, I'm going to continue it. We're going to try to get the Aquarius video out sooner than later, and I think you're going to enjoy that one as well. But and I also do have my idea for Pisces, but like I said, if anyone has any ideas moving forward from Aries on in terms of products or staple people in the tech industry as a whole, I'd love to hear your ideas, and please do like, share, comment, and subscribe, and check out the blog techiesupreme.com. I do hope that you guys will stick around for all of the content that I have in store for 2020, and let me know what you thought about this. Once again, sincerest apologies to the Capricorns, but here we are, and until next time, bye.